Hi, Gregg Perry, the historic preservationist. Welcome back to the conservation studio. We were talking about a George fixed clock a few episodes ago, a few weeks ago, possibly. And today we're going to take a closer look at the finish. I've determined, and everyone probably knows that you can determine by getting a little bit of alcohol. We have a little bit Everclear and putting it on. And if some of the finish comes off, then it's a shellac base. And just a few words about shellac based finishes. Shellac lasts probably 50 to 70 years and it oxidizes, almost oxidizes like if you had snow on the ground and it only got to 15 degrees. It wouldn't have to be sunny. That oxidation process with air is going to start making the snow go away very slowly. It could be 15 degrees for 30 days and you'd have not a lot of snow left. It's the same thing with shellac. It oxidizes over time. And what's happened with shellac on a finish basis, as far as we had something called an itinerant finisher back in the 18th century, probably around 1750. Even here in Philadelphia, we had itinerant finishers. And even in the small hamlet of Alloway, New Jersey, is where I'm at right now, right on the banks of the Alloway Creek or the Alloway Lake. We had finishers actually here, I believe, up into the late 1960s or early 70s. They would go into a town for a week, father with three sons, and they get a hotel room and they would go around finishing everyone's furniture and putting a polish over it, so to speak. And they would visit them every 3-4 years. So that's the essence of layering on a microphotographic basis, of layering, building a patina. And not necessarily would they have cleaned these pieces in someone's house, but they would have come back and they would have continually put new shellac layers. So pieces that survive with the quote muddy, dirty finish, that's what we're looking into. We're looking as the light rays break through the various layers of shellac and then being diverted through the fumes and oil molecules left there from the cook stoves or the fireplace and things like that. So they're the kind of issues we're dealing with patina. And again, I've reiterated this before, but in America, the American public, which is propagated by a lot of illicit antique type dealers, they want the old finish because it's much easier to fake this, fake that, when doing repairs or doing upgrades on furniture. So in France, my study in France, they want to take the entire film finish down to the surface of the wood, even subsurface. They want to come in, they want to use a scraper, they want to use abrasives, and they want it to look as it did in the 17th, 18th century. In England, they just want to cut back the finish to wood surface level. They're leaving a little bit of subsurface patina on there. So we have three different modes of thought. But what I'm going to do today is I'm just curious. I want to see this George fixed clock, which is the late 1790s, using an abrasive here. I have 150, and I'm going to go with the grain. And you can see the shellac. If this was an oil-based varnish, it would not sand this well. I want to see what kind of color we're dealing with here, because I have different areas. I can see I have more finish here. I have less here. I don't know if this has been stripped or partial oxidation, partial stripping, or what's occurred. Remember, this case hadn't been touched in over 100 years. It sat there. But, as I could come over and hit this with just alcohol and some French polishing, use the rubber on this. But what would happen is, because there's more finish in certain areas, there's too little finish in too many areas to try and move it around, which is typical of what a certified or a really good French polisher can do. So we're kind of going to start over here. And, we're not trying to fool anybody, because as we get to another video, we're going to see what we have. But I'm just curious to see now, as I'm abrading down, I'm seeing streaks of finish and probably some patina on here. But unless I get down to a base point, I will not know what I have. And so just using a 150, it could be a 220, and I just use Everclear alcohol. And the curiosity here is because I got to make some missing components, so I want to know what I'm dealing with, what kind of old wood I'm dealing with, and that's absolutely gorgeous. That's natural, old growth walnut, probably 500-700 years old. The trees were, but look, isn't that gorgeous? It's warm, romantic. And let me hit this with alcohol down here that I haven't stripped. And that's equally as nice. But again, some areas I have a lot of finish on. So I'm not taking that much of what little patinization is left on here. So, but this is wonderful, and so this is eventually we're going to do all the repairs on all the casework, and then I'm going to do my application. Typically, I'll probably brush the first coat or two coats on. I'll braid, cut back, and then I'm going to French polish this as I do all my pieces in the restoration mode. And sometimes in the restoration mode of French polishing, I'll come back and I'll give it a little more texture, and we'll go over that in the future. But this guy's going to take us a while because we have the dial to do, the movement to do, and we have the case to do. So I think that's it. We have totally determined prior to the video. I just wanted to check and see if this was in fact, and you can see it was a yellow type shellac that was on there. Uh, we've determined it is shellac, and that's good because some of that shellac is still impregnated into the pores. And as I apply the French polish on with more alcohol and with, I'm going to be using walnut oil actually, the pores are basically already filled on here. So I think we're going to end this one, and we'll see you at another time on the case. And next we're going to see some information. We're going to go over the bonnet or the hood of this clock. Gregg Perry, the historic preservationist. Thanks all for viewing.